What's the deal, my people? You know it is Don Tony Teflon, and I'm back at you another one, and this one is Netflix Witcher review. Now, in this video, it's not going to be like most of my other reviews that you see me do. It's going to be me breaking down what I like about The Witcher so far and what I don't like about The Witcher so far. And this is going to be episode 1, and after that, when we get into it, I will break down the plot and the summary and everything else that we see inside of this show. So Netflix Witcher is very important, and that's for two people, really one person and one company, and that is Netflix and Henry Cavill. Now, Netflix having to deal with all these other streaming companies that are coming online, Disney Plus, the Lord of the Rings show, and then we have also HBO Max, which is going to have another Game of Thrones series. It is very important for Netflix to reign supreme as the streaming service, to continue to reign supreme as the #1 streaming service to produce real content that no one else has, original content. And that's what they're banking on when they have this Witcher. Now, we've seen them do good in the movies, and they've gotten some critically acclaimed awards for movies, but yet for TV series, they've had some hits and they've had some misses. So The Witcher is their answer to all this, and what's trying to make people stay a Netflix subscriber and not jump ship and go to all these other streaming services. And not only is this show important to Netflix, but it's very important to Henry Cavill himself, because Henry Cavill wants to establish himself as a leading man, as someone who can hold down a TV show or a movie, someone who is box office and makes people come to see him. He's trying to become that, and as we've seen, he's had problems with Warner Brother, with Superman, and him portraying the role as Superman. If he does good in this show, that will give him some leverage to deal with them and try to stay on as Superman. Now, Henry Cavill has been hit or miss when it comes to certain things. I do like him as Superman. I did not like this original Superman movie that we seen him in. I liked his performance, but the overall script in the movie, I did not like. And I did not like Batman vs. Superman. That was just straight trash. I hated that movie. It had nothing to do with him, but the movie was trash, and it was just a abomination. Now, whether Warner Brother wants to recast him or keep him on, we don't know, because we seen in Shazam there was supposed to be a Henry Cavill, a Superman cameo, and he did not do that cameo. They had a body double stand in for Henry Cavill. Now, the best thing I would say that I've ever seen Henry Cavill in is Mission Impossible. I love the villain that he played in that role, and I do think that Henry Cavill does have the chops to be a leading man in this action genre, because when you look at the whole action genre, leading man, he is a very good actor, right? But sometimes you don't have to be a great actor to be a leading man in action. When we look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, he truly wasn't a great actor, but he was a great leading man. People came out to see Arnold Schwarzenegger no matter what movie he got casted in. The same thing with Sylvester Stallone. He wasn't a great actor, but people came out to see Sylvester Stallone. So Henry Cavill is trying to become that. Right now, the person who is that is Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. People come out to see The Rock no matter what he's in. Even if the movies are suck and they flop, they still make a decent amount of money at the box office. But even The Rock, when you look at all of his resume, he hasn't really been a true leading man where he has been able to carry a movie by himself. His biggest hits are all ensemble movies when you look at it. The ones he's done by himself, he has brought people to the box office, but he has not done as good by himself as he has with ensemble movies. So Henry Cavill is trying to establish himself and give his manager, who just happens to be The Rock's ex-wife, some ammo to go and negotiate with him when dealing with Warner Brothers and other studios and movies and TV shows he gets casted in. Now, I will say that I've only watched episode 1. I have not gone beyond that. So all my comments about this is going to be about episode 1. First thing that I noticed about it is the color grading. When you see him get into the first battle with the monster, the color grading is something that we haven't really seen in a lot of TV shows, and I truly do like the way that they're doing the color grading in this show. Now, Henry Cavill as Geralt, I think he fits the mold, the body type, and the look. When we first seen him come out with it, it didn't look that good to me. But now that I've seen it all done up, I think he makes a great Geralt. I think he looks really good at it, and his eyes are perfectly done. I know if Game of Thrones fans always complain about the Targaryen eyes not being purple, but they should have took some cues from this show, because these eyes are perfect. His eyes look perfect, and I think that is very important when you have someone who's supposed to have superhuman strength, abilities, endurance, that their body type looks it. He looks like physically that he can actually take out a monster, that he can slay a dragon, or he can do this to animals. When you see these other movies where they have these skinny actors playing these roles, it just doesn't work to me. It's not believable. But obviously this is the man who plays Superman, so if you see him hack off the head of a dragon, it's going to be very believable. Now, when we listen to his voice, he's definitely trying to take the voice from the video game, and I think he's doing a good job of taking the voice from the video game. Now, would it have been better if he came up with his own voice for this? Maybe, but I have no problem with him taking the voice from the video game actor who made up the voice for Geralt. I think he did a good job doing that, and so far, I'm very happy with everything I've seen from Henry Cavill playing this character. Now, when watching The Witcher, we see a lot of elaborate costumes. And then when I seen the clips before, especially of Nilfgaard, when I seen their army and I seen the clips and behind the scenes, it was like a leak shot of the costumes of them, I hated their armor. I did not like it whatsoever. And I'm still on the fence about it, but I will say that I do like the costumes that we see. I think they're not top, I'm not going to say that they're top-notch, top of the line, but I do believe that it works well. The costume design is very good. They have done a good job with this so far, and I have no complaints with that. Now, dealing with the special effects, I am very critical of special effects, especially if you watch my Mandalorian video, then you know that I be criticizing special effects up and down. From what I've seen so far, and I've only seen episode 1, I will say that the special effects in this are very good. They're not the greatest special effects I've seen. When you see the opening scene and he's fighting the Kimura and he chops off the arms and then he eventually kills it, does it look like a movie? No, but I don't expect it to look like a movie. It just has to look better than Xena, better than Hercules, better than something that we would see on normal television, and I say that it does. Is it something that probably we would see on Game of Thrones? Is the creatures so far at the levels of the Game of Thrones dragons that we've seen? Not from episode 1. When we see the magician or the sorcerer using the spells and everything, that looks good. The color grading on that also helps. They have good effects on that. So I will say that so far, I would give it probably a C+ in special effects right now. I'm not mad at the special effects, but I think that it could get better. And I don't expect them to have the budget to do all the special effects that they really truly want to do. Now, even though we know that Netflix spent a boatload of money on this show, I think that they'll even spend more if this show is successful. And if it is successful, I think that they'll up the budget every season that it is out. Now, dealing with the fight scenes that we've seen, I know that they came out and they said that the fight scenes are going to make Game of Thrones fight scenes look like, you know, kindergarten or romper room fights. That's what they tried to come out saying. The fight scenes that we've seen so far are good. I'm not going to say they're great. We've seen a quick battle. We've seen people getting stabbed in the face with swords and the swords going through them, and it looked very good, but I can't say that it's Game of Thrones level. Now, if you look at Game of Thrones, in the beginning, their fight scenes weren't that good. After seasons, they got better. All the army battle scenes got better after the season. So, judging from episode 1, I will say that they are good from what we've seen, but they're not Game of Thrones level yet. But I can't really expect it to be when Game of Thrones had all these seasons to come out, and this is just the opening scene. So I think right off the bat, they're doing a really good job with it, and I look forward to seeing more about it. Now, speaking about Game of Thrones, people are going to ask me, is this show, The Witcher, the next Game of Thrones? And I will have to say no. I don't believe there will ever be another Game of Thrones, just like there was never another Sopranos, just like there was never another The Wire. There was never another of those shows. Those shows always set themselves apart. Can it be a great show? I think it can be, but the reason why it can't be Game of Thrones is I don't think that any show that has a streaming service that comes out dropping all the episodes can generate enough buzz as a show like Game of Thrones. When you have a week-to-week show, the show becomes an event. Like Sunday nights for Game of Thrones was Game of Thrones night. Like people, you went out, you drank, you bought over. You know, it's like you could bring over friends to watch it and everything else. I don't think that this will ever generate that type of buzz, just for the fact that they drop all the episodes at once. When you have a week-to-week show, you can have people speculate about what's going to happen, give their predictions about what's going to happen, and everything else. And you can't do that with a show that comes out and is just dropped in your lap, everything. Because obviously you can't just come out here and say, oh, this is the prediction for this. People are going to say you don't watch the whole thing. That's why you knew it was going to happen. So you're always going to have that. So I just don't think that it's possible for it to be Game of Thrones level as long as it's just dropped like that. I truly wish they would do a week-to-week thing for the show, and I think if it did that, it would generate enough buzz, but that's just not Netflix's style. Now, trust me, I love streaming. I mean, I love binge watching. I am a binge watcher, and that's because of Netflix. But I will watch this show in one day. Everything, top to bottom, I'll watch every episode, and then by next month, it'll be done. And I think that's the problem you get with binge watching. And in my next video, we're going to go after all the plot. I'm going to give you all my feelings about the show and everything else from episodes. So make sure you subscribe and click that bell so you can be notified when I drop a next Witcher video. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.